Once a year, I like to make a big batch of chili con carne. And I do it just before the winter really sets in because it is such a lovely food, a very warming food, and it's just great to pull it out of the freezer, stick it in the microwave, and you have yourself a meal. Another reason I like to do it at this time of year is because this is when I'm making a lot of hot sauces using my peppers from the garden. There's a couple of byproducts when you make hot sauces. When you ferment a hot sauce, you typically use a brine to cover it over. The brine normally I throw away because I make so much of it, but I do keep back some of it because I like to use it in this dish. So over here we have about half a liter or a pint of brine from a recent pepper sauce that I made. Another thing that is a byproduct of making pepper sauces is mash. So this here is from the freezer. This here is mash that has been left over. When I take my sauce and I put it through a sieve, I like just the liquid part of it sometimes. And the mash that's left over, I don't put it to waste. I freeze it and I use it in these sort of dishes. This is a mash from a sauce I made last year. There's a lot of garlic in here as well, but also the fermentation really makes it taste so good, and it adds a perfect flavor to this dish. It is quite spicy, and my wife doesn't really eat really hot food like I do. Just remember one thing, you can always add heat, you can't take it away though, so just be careful. I might end up adding a little bit more than this, but we'll see. We'll taste it while we're cooking. I had a great idea from one of my subscribers. I will try and find the comment and I'll put it down on the screen below here. But he told me that he uses his brine to make his rice. So he adds half brine, half normal water when he makes his rice. And that sounded like a fantastic idea. Today we're going to be doing a similar thing, but we're going to be soaking our pinto beans inside the brine. First, I'm just going to add these into the brine and we'll let that sit aside for a moment. You can let these soak for quite a long time. There we go, that's half a kilogram of pinto beans. There's some basics that I add into this every time, and I will tell you what the measurements are as I go along. I'll tell you what I use. So just follow along and maybe you'll get some tips for your own chili con carne. I think that the mash is the one thing that adds a very special flavor to your chili. Something else I like to add is a can of Guinness. Instead of adding beef stock, I add this. So if you don't want to add a can of Guinness, feel free to add in about a cup of beef stock or 2 cups of beef stock. But I like to add my Guinness. And this one here, this is the other Guinness. This one's for me to drink. Cheers. Let's start preparing. There's nothing complicated about what we're doing today. It's just about how you bring all those flavors together. We're going to need 2 onions. And I'm ready to start cooking our chili. And let's throw in those pork strips. This is kind of a secret ingredient. Everybody's is going to be a little bit different. Everybody's chili is going to be a bit different. This is what makes mine quite special. So that's going in now. Oh, It's starting to come together. The smells are really starting to mix in, and I haven't even added half the ingredients yet. Next thing we're going to be adding is mushrooms as well as the celery, so that's just all going to go in here. Next we're going to be adding pinto beans, which were soaking inside the brine from one of my other chili sauces. So I've drained these out and I'm going to add them just as they are. Next we're going to add in the garlic. Typically I like to leave some garlic behind so that I can add it right at the end, because when you cook with garlic, the strength of the garlic sort of goes away the longer it cooks. But I'm going to add in this whole lot, and I might add a little bit at the end. We don't want an overwhelming garlic sort of taste. I'm also at this point going to turn down the heat. We're going to get it down to maybe half the heat. We just want to get this to be at a bit of a simmer. Once we've added everything, you want this to just start simmering, like not a boil, but just slowly bubbling. We're going to add some tinned tomatoes now. It's been about 4 hours now. So during those 4 hours, I've been adding some water. I've probably added about 1 liter of water. You want to do that just so it doesn't dry out. And obviously it's a long cook, so if you don't add water, it's just going to dry out and probably burn the bottom of the pan. It's coming together. It's still got to render down now. I've finished adding water, I think. And you can see the color there is perfect. And we're just going to let this cook down until it's at the consistency I want. It looks a heck of a lot different than when you started out. Let that simmer now. I have my induction hob set to 100 degrees Celsius, so that'll allow this just to simmer. I'll be back with you once this is finished, and I'll show you what it should look like. It's been another couple of hours, and it's time to have a look and see how we're doing. So I think there's probably about another 20 minutes, half an hour, just to get rid of a little bit more liquid, but you can see there the color is perfect and it smells incredible. I think we're done. It's been another half hour since we last checked. I think that is looking spot on. So there we go. There's the chili. There's lots and lots going on in there. It smells incredible, and I'm just going to let it cool for a little bit, and then I'm going to give it a bit of a taste. Oh, the texture is perfect. The heat is a bit of a builder. It's not instant, and I think perfect amount of salt. I haven't had to add any more, so it really is important to wait till you've cooked this down as much as you can, to the point that you're actually going to be serving it in this sort of consistency, because you add salt before that, it's going to potentially be a little bit too salty once all the liquid goes out, because there's going to be less of this for the amount of salt that you put in. Thank you for spending some time with me today while I cook my chili con carne. I hope you picked up a couple tips and tricks. And I want to hear in the comments below what your secret tips and tricks are. I'm always willing to pick up some new ideas. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next video. Bye bye for now.